Kayıt.
Selam arkadaşlar.
Arkadaşlar selam. Bir
Pazar
pazar
daha.
Pazar klasiğiyle
Aynen.
sizlerle beraberiz. Gene aynı yer, gene aynı açı.
Aynen öyle. Bugün ne yapıyoruz?
Bugün
hemen.
maalesef
Güzel
ki
bir-
bacak yapıyoruz. Moraller bozuk bir tık.
Maalesef mi? Ben seviyorum bacak yapmayı.
Ay ya sen sevebilirsin. Ben şahsen çok.
Bacak çalışacağız. Hangi hareketleri yapacağız? Kısaca özet kanka.
Evet, şöyle
Bir güzel.
hızlıca.
Ne yapacağız? İlk hareketimiz ne kanka?
İlk hareketimiz leg press arkadaşlar. Önce leg press'te şöyle bir 3+1 genelde ben bir tane de back off ekliyorum çünkü makine seated olduğu için, yani lying leg press makinemiz olmadığı için salonda 3+1 yapacağız.
Tabii. Aynen, daha verimli. Tabii ne kadar doğru yaptığımıza bağlı olarak da bu değişiyor
Kesinlikle.
ama
Ya
bu
zaten çekeceğiz.
standart verilmiş
Aynen.
bir şey, yani geri dönüş.
Aynen öyle. Şey yapacağız. Leg press yapacağız. Ondan sonra extension'ımız var. Extension'dan sonra da leg curl ekleyeceğiz. Ama sanki leg curl yapmadan bir iki set Smith machine'li squat, artık quadların tamamen
Ben bayağı hafif yapacağım kanka.
Evet, ben
bu
de
arada.
bayağı hafif
Çünkü
yapacağım.
Smith machine'de ağır yapmanın da bir anlamı olmuyor. Düzgün çünkü çıkmıyor. Bir kere bizim Smith machine zaten böyle.
bizim Smith machine'in barı yanlardan plaka aldıkça orta kısım ovalleşmeye başlıyor ve sürtünme noktaları maalesef takılıyor ve takıldıkça da siz zorlanıyorsunuz hareketi yaparken. O yüzden daha hafif çalışmayı şey yapıyoruz. Yani durum bu arkadaşlar. Antrenmana geçelim mi?
Geçelim.
O zaman antrenmanda görüşmek
Antrenmanda
üzere.
görüşürüz.
Well, of course. Almost everybody is looking for help. Unless, when I was younger, so much younger than today, I never needed anybody's help in any way. But there is this feeling of a certain helplessness, of being alone and somewhat confused in an unpredictable, wayward, external world of happenings. And this world of happenings includes an enormous amount of suffering, tragedy, and we wonder why we're here, how we got here, and in short, what to do about the capital P problem of capital L life, to which should be added death, because it seems to be certain that we're all going to die, and that death may be a painful process. Those we love are going to die, and so what about it? Is there any way in which we can become masters of the situation? Well, there are all sorts of ways of trying to escape from the human predicament of being a lonely, isolated consciousness in the midst of this enormous and wayward not-self. We can, of course, try to beat the game on a material basis by becoming very wealthy or very powerful. We may resort to all kinds of technology to get rid of our sufferings, hunger, pain, sickness, and so forth. But it will be noticed that as we succeed in these enterprises, we're not satisfied. In other words, if you feel at this moment that an increase in income would solve your problems, and you got an increase in income, this would give you a pleasant feeling for a few weeks. But then, as you well know, if that's ever happened to you, the feeling wears off. And you may stop worrying about paying your debts and start worrying about whether you will get sick. There is always something to worry about. And so you realize that the problem of life does not really consist in your external circumstances, because you worry whatever they are. The problem consists rather in what you call your mind. Could you, by some method, control your mind so that you won't worry? And how on earth would you do that? Well, there are those people who tell you that the best answer is to think positive thoughts, to be peaceful, to breathe slowly and hum gently and get yourself into a peaceful state of mind by repeating affirmations. But unfortunately, it doesn't always work because you have a nagging suspicion in the back of your mind that you're simply hypnotizing yourself and whistling in the dark. And so you realize that this matter of controlling the mind is no superficial undertaking, because although you may be able to smooth the ruffles of your consciousness, there is beneath that a vast area of unconsciousness which erupts as unpredictably as events in the external world. And so you consider seriously the possibilities of psychoanalysis. And then, of course, you get into the guru business. You have to go to someone against whose mirror you can reflect those aspects of yourself of which you are not directly aware. So as the process goes on, you find there is something awkward about all this. And this awkwardness can be expressed in many different ways. One of them is this: how on earth are you to get at yourself, to do something about yourself? If you are the one who needs to be improved, how are you going to accomplish the improvement? It's like saying you must relax. Let go. Give in. And I know I ought to give in. I know I ought to let go and abandon my will. In other words, we all come down to a basis in ourselves which we will call the Yetzer Hara, or the wayward spirit which God is supposed to have put into the soul of Adam, our element of irreducible rascality. So we do have that element in ourselves. We know it very well. And the question is, therefore, once again, how can it be transformed? But if the transformer is the one who is afflicted, who transforms the transformer? It's the old problem of who guards the guards, who polices the policeman, who governs the governed. And it seems perfectly insoluble for that reason alone that it is a vicious circle. There's a great deal of talk about two selves, the lower self or ego, the higher self called the spirit or the Atman, and the duty of the Atman seems to be to transform the wretched little ego. Well, sometimes it does, but a lot of times it doesn't. So we ask, why doesn't so-and-so's Atman succeed in getting through? Is his ego too strong? If so, who will weaken it? Is his Atman too weak? And if so, why? For surely aren't all Atmans the same? The puzzle remains. We're trying to get better. We are out after that type of experience which we will call the positive, the good, the light, the living. And to get away from the negative, the evil, the dark, and the dead. Unfortunately, however, human experience, human consciousness knows.
Evet.
Güzel.
Arkadaşlar, idmanın sonuna geldik. Bacaklarım çok ağrıyor kanka.
Kanka iyi yaptık.
İyiydi, bayağı
Güzel
iyiydi.
bir pump
Gerçekten
oldu yani. Zaten göreceksiniz
çok ağrıyor.
videoda. İnanılmaz kalflar ve quadriceps.
Quadriceps, hamster bayağı
Güzel.
iyiydi.
Güzel.
Ya kısaca çok güzel bir
Aynen.
bacak idmanı oldu. Kısa, öz. Buraya
Aynen.
kadar izlediğiniz için teşekkür ederiz. Beğendiyseniz beğenmeyi, destek
Kanala
olmak
abone
için de
olmayı.
abone olmayı unutmayın arkadaşlar.
Aynen öyle.
Görüşmek üzere.
Görüşürüz.